Hello, my friendos. Welcome to the channel. Listen, if you got rinsed on this move today, then man, we need to talk. And I'm mainly speaking to my retail traders because a lot of people are retail traders and trendline traders and momentum traders, and that's all fine and that works well until it doesn't. And so, on this channel, I'm not really a retail trader. I've, since the dawn of this channel, traded vector candles. We've talked about market makers, and we've talked about what we're going to talk about today, which in my opinion is the most important thing that you need to be watching for in any trade, which is liquidity. Guys, this game is not a charity. This game is a business, and for them to run their business similar to a casino that has the odds against you, they need to steal your money. You can't turn the lights on in the casino unless they steal your money. And how do they do that? They build the odds against you. Except where are your odds? Your odds, or their odds, come from your lack of discipline when it comes to psychology. Guys, today we're talking about my favorite word in trading, which is liquidity. They will always attack your liquidity. Not sometimes, always. And so if you got rinsed on this move because you're looking at Twitter and sentiment is breakout, we're going up only, then like I said, this video is for you, and it is quite simple. Guys, whenever you have a big move and you don't have a proper accumulation or distribution, you will typically leave behind liquidity. Actually, not typically, you will always leave behind liquidity. Now, if you just draw a trend line here, okay? Yesterday, everybody and their mother was watching this trend line and was longing the trend line. That is a very retail approach. Now, you absolutely could have made decent money longing these trend lines. It's no surprise Bitcoin is in up-only mode. Look at this trend line as well. Bitcoin is in up-only mode and doesn't care about giving proper accumulations as of late. But the problem with these trend lines, and the biggest problem with these retail traders that follow these trend lines and think that they work, keep in mind, 95% of traders lose. And so why would you learn from retail if 95% of retail loses? But anyways, I digress. When you are paying attention to these lines, they work until they don't. And remember, it is a lot riskier, in my opinion anyway, to say, okay, we're at support by this make-believe line that you just happened to draw. It is a lot riskier to get into a position based on this support and long it up to the new high or whatever, which in this case would have worked out, than it is to wait for a proper flip in structure and actually look for shorts. Because remember, the market is always going to attack liquidity, which is your money. And a lot of the people that, for example, have their long positions here will put their stop beneath this low or beneath this low or beneath this low. You get the point. And so what happens is it ends up being a cascade effect where stop losses get hit, your longs will trigger as market short orders, which will then push the price even lower. Okay, so though sometimes you might miss out on some trades, which you very well might, because when it's up only, at least me, the way that I trade, I don't trade trend lines, okay? I don't say, oh, we're coming back into a trend line and we're coming back into the golden pocket, so I'm going to long this because things look good and my oscillator looks good and this, that, and the other. You know what? Yes, in hindsight, things could hurt me, but let me ask you a question. How many times have you been up or made this 5% pump and then just given it all right back? How many times does that happen? And so my question to you, my follow-up question to you, is what's the point, right? What's the point of making, a couple $100, couple $1,000 on this move if you're just going to keep longing these lines and then just give it back tomorrow, or worse, give more back or end up in a losing position, which happens all the time for retail traders that don't know what they're looking for. My question for you is, what is the point? And so the number one thing you always, no matter what, need to look out for, no matter what, is liquidity. And guys, it's very simple. I've talked about liquidity quite extensively on this channel. I don't believe I've made a video on it alone, but look at what happened when this massive dump happened. You had a lot of liquidity. You didn't have a proper accumulation forming at the lows. sure and behold, you ended up getting that higher time frame structure flip. You could count it from here. You also ended up getting another structure flip from here. So you had plenty of time to short it. And then there I was on Twitter saying a minus $10,000 candle. By the way, this goes both ways, right? This is why up only is not a thing, right? Whenever price is going up, instead of trying to chase it by catching the trend line, oh my God, we're back at support, this make-believe support because you know how to draw a straight line, you should be looking to counter trend it because we're obviously still in a macro downtrend, but counter trend trade it and look to think of it like, if you were a market maker, how could you make the most money? It is coming for the liquidity. That's why it is, to me, hysterical when people say that Max Payne is up. Right now, yeah, up only is shitty price action, which we definitely have at these lows. This is undeniable. Look how long, you can extend this liquidity, right? And I talked about this on Twitter. I've drawn this many times. What we're seeing right now is not very different than what we were seeing at the beginning of July. So are we going to get a minus $10,000 move right now? I'm not saying we will. We could absolutely continue this trend line much, much higher until we don't. But the problem is, like I said, and like I've been saying, the higher we go, the worse it is. So up only, not really great. Down only, not really great. And you can see what happens, right? We're obviously attacking this down only liquidity that we've been putting in since the high back at 69K when I was saying, and when I took this trade on live on stream, when I was saying that we're probably coming down for the lows, okay? And so when you approach the markets with this kind of new lens, okay, and again, I'm very much so speaking to the retail traders, I'm not drawing this trend line right now thinking, okay, I'm going to look to long it. First of all, it makes absolutely no sense because if you break the trend line as we did right now, then people are probably just going to do this. Like all you're going to do is adjust your trend line and then maybe do this, right? You're going to take your trend line and draw it like that. So now this still looks like a straight trend line, but now it's like adjusted and it doesn't say, okay, we broke through it. So it's already way too subjective and it already doesn't make sense to do that objectively. And if you're going to, put your money behind something, I want to put my money behind things that are not subjective trading is subjective, but I want to make it as objective as possible. But I'm not looking to long right now where we are. Now, if we have other reasons and other confluences like smart money involvement, which we kind of do right now, so there's your little secret, too long, then I will long that. But I'm not looking to long just a golden pocket and a trend line because it happens to be a trend line because it can crap out on you on any second. And that's exactly what happened. And that's exactly what could happen here. Look, I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not a fortune cookie. I can't tell you that we're going to drop down to 54, 55K or whatever. But what I can tell you is if we start losing these lows, things are not going to look good. And just as fast as we came down here, we could find our ways easily back down to 49K. And again, look, the trend lines work both ways. So before you be weird and call me a perma bear, look, I'm as objective as it is, okay? I'm not a heavy investor. I don't even care. I literally don't care if Bitcoin goes up or down. If Bitcoin goes to 100, I think it'll be funny. If Bitcoin goes to 0, I think it'll be funny. I'm the least biased one because I'm a trader. I'm not an investor, right? I don't care. So just like we could easily squeeze up and take all this liquidity, we could also easily squeeze down and take all this liquidity. And right now, seeing that structure has just flipped back to bearish, we're at important, I'm not going to call it support because it's not support because you know how to draw a trend line there. That's not the way that the business works. But if you start losing this, oh baby, you can really start looking down to these low prices because that is as simple as liquidity is. And it doesn't need to be complicated. I'm a smart money trader since the beginning of this channel, vector candles, liquidity, order blocks, market makers. We've been on that from the beginning, from day one, right? I've even implemented market cipher rules to follow along with smart money, like vector candles. When you have a vector candle, you got to look to the left, etc. Right? I encourage you, at least try it, to look at things in a different perspective. Remember, 95% of retail traders lose, and you learn from retail, right? You learn RSIs, you learn trend lines. But you don't learn the other side of it, right? You learn the wedges, potato wedges, and whatever head and shoulder patterns are. But what's actually happening behind those patterns? And that's what I want you to see in this, right? This is not support. We're not at support right now. This is potentially liquidity that we can grab later. And when you do happen to find that transition, and there are ways to do it. So if you'd like the content, hit the like button and subscribe so that you can catch on to my ways to do it. There are ways to catch the tops like we did exactly here. I shorted literally right up here. on stream, by the way, on YouTube Live. But I encourage you to take a look at this line in a different perspective, because once you lose the line, oh, baby, things can get pretty ugly. And in my opinion, anyways, it is a lot better of a risk to reward. It's less risky to look to short the line, like the highs of the line. Like, it's way riskier to long here than it was to short here this morning. Liquidity, guys, you can't fade liquidity. And that's why down here, when people were saying max pain is 58, it made, or up here, 58 is max pain. No, because you have all that liquidity that you can grab. Right here, people are saying, you know, I don't know, 55 is max pain. Well, no, because you have all this liquidity that you can grab. And what happens when you don't get a proper accumulation? You leave liquidity behind, and you can actually make a run for it. Now, up here, it's a different story because we did get a proper distribution. So this makes sense for this to be a significant top. Does this make sense to be a significant low? No. And if it does, if it is going to be a significant low, which I'm not saying it's not, then it's just all the more reason to come back down later and grab all that liquidity. I love trend lines because I don't think of them as trend lines. I don't long trend lines. I think of them as liquidity. And those are the big moves that you will get if you know how to follow the smart money and understand that they train you to long the trend lines and then they don't work. Why do they not work for you? How many people got rinsed in here on today's move? Be honest. Let me know in the comments if you didn't expect this move. I'll tell you this. I expected it quite easily. And the reason why is because, well, look, we're not even on the macro. Now we're on the micro. What did you have here? Guys, that's liquidity. That is liquidity. Anytime I see lows that are not intact, that is liquidity. And so I encourage you all, the next time you're looking at the charts, the next time you're doing your TA, the next time you're analyzing it, don't get caught up in the up only. Oh my God, Bitcoin looks like it's about to break out, like everybody and their mother are saying, at least from what I'm seeing on my algorithms. Yeah, it's true we could get a breakout, but it's also true that we could run this liquidity.